wanted to dance. Are you gonna chicken out?
What?
On one condition. Now, the kids here have been expecting you to do something, so...
What if one of Hollywood's most explosive love stories was never allowed to exist? When Elvis Presley and Ann-Margret collided on the set of Viva Las Vegas, it wasn't just chemistry, it was ignition. But behind the glitz, behind the iconic dance numbers and Technicolor smiles, was a relationship so electric, it threatened everything. Elvis's image, his engagement, and the empire built around him. One woman, one movie, and one moment that could have changed the king of rock and roll forever. Elvis Presley and Ann-Margret's explosive chemistry in Viva Las Vegas captivated audiences. But the passion that ignited on screen sparked more than just entertainment. It revealed a behind-the-scenes story of rivalry, admiration, and control. The legendary 1964 musical brought together two of Hollywood's brightest stars at a time when both were at pivotal points in their careers. Elvis, already the king of rock and roll and a proven box office draw, was used to being the centerpiece of every production. Enter Ann-Margret, a rising Swedish-American star whose charisma and electric performance style threatened to challenge even Elvis's dominance. From the moment they met on the bustling MGM soundstages in 1963, there was an undeniable spark, one that went far beyond acting. Ann-Margret, fresh off the success of Bye Bye Birdie, exuded confidence and artistry, earning a reputation for outshining her male counterparts. She approached Elvis with a mixture of respect and strength, and he, recognizing her talent, responded with warmth. This was no ordinary co-star. Ann-Margret was a true equal. As they rehearsed and filmed together, their connection deepened, rooted in a shared love of music, rhythm, and performance. They didn't just act, they moved in sync. Their dances a physical manifestation of their chemistry, their rehearsals intense and transformative. David Winters, the choreographer and Ann-Margret's former student, understood her talents intimately and crafted routines that highlighted her explosive energy. Supported by Tony Basil, who appeared memorably in the film, Winters orchestrated sessions that were more like artistic duels. Elvis and Ann-Margret challenging each other, feeding off each other's intensity. Audiences felt this magic. Every scene they shared crackled with energy, especially their iconic dance numbers like "Come On Everybody." Their movements were not mere choreography, but a raw, instinctive duet, almost too powerful to be confined to screen. Ann-Margret later recalled how music unlocked something primal in both of them, as if they were dancing with their souls, not just their bodies. This unfiltered artistry made the film soar, but it also began to create tension behind the scenes. Rumors swirled that Ann-Margret was stealing the spotlight, her energy so commanding that she drew attention even when Elvis was on screen. Critics and fans noticed, with some pointing to moments in musical sequences where Elvis seemed slightly off, possibly distracted by her overpowering presence. Her formal dance training, combined with natural exuberance, allowed her to command the screen in a way few others could. While Elvis was known for his instinctual flair, Ann-Margret brought technical precision and an unrestrained, athletic approach to performance. As their rivalry, friendly or otherwise, intensified, a quiet battle for dominance unfolded on set, one that would have lasting consequences. Director George Sidney, captivated by Ann-Margret's magnetism, chose to showcase her talent generously, framing her in lingering close-ups and multiple takes. But what Sidney saw as artistry, Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's domineering manager, saw as a threat. Determined to protect Elvis's brand, Parker accused Sidney of giving Ann-Margret too much attention, fearing the film would no longer center on his star client. Studio politics soon took over. Under pressure from Parker, several scenes that emphasized the pair's romantic connection, including musical numbers like "You're the Boss" and "Today, Tomorrow, and Forever," were cut from the final film. These edits weren't about pacing, they were strategic moves to ensure Elvis remained the unquestioned focal point. Whether Elvis himself shared Parker's concerns or was simply influenced by his manager remains unclear. Some say Elvis felt edged out of his own movie, though others argue he admired Ann-Margret's brilliance. Still, the outcome was decisive. The full extent of their partnership was never allowed to reach the screen. The film's final moments, particularly the split-screen dance sequence, symbolized a compromise, equal visibility without direct competition. Yet, beneath this professional power play lay a deeply personal connection. Ann-Margret, in her memoir My Story, hinted at a love that transcended on-set flirtation. She described Elvis as a mirror of her own soul, someone who understood her in ways few did. They shared similar upbringings, faith-driven values, and a desire for authenticity amid the chaos of fame. Unlike many in their circles who partied hard and sought the spotlight, Elvis and Ann-Margret found joy in motorcycle rides, heartfelt talks, and quiet moments away from the camera. Their bond was real, deep, intimate, and possibly doomed by the demands of fame. At the time, Elvis was entangled in a complex relationship with Priscilla Beaulieu, whom he had promised fidelity and a future. Meanwhile, the press and studios milked the buzz surrounding his chemistry with Ann-Margret to drive ticket sales, blurring the line between marketing and truth. Backstage politics may have silenced some of the most intimate scenes, but they couldn't erase the affection that lingered long after filming ended. Elvis's inner circle remained wary of Ann-Margret, fearing she might disrupt the tightly controlled Presley image. Yet, Elvis never cut ties emotionally. Throughout the years, every time Ann-Margret launched a new Vegas show, a guitar-shaped floral arrangement would arrive backstage, always unsigned, always unmistakably from Elvis. These silent tokens spoke of a connection that endured, even as life pulled them in different directions. In retrospect, their on-screen romance in Viva Las Vegas stands not just as a cinematic triumph, but as a portrait of what could have been. A partnership defined by artistry and respect, but ultimately constrained by the machinery of fame. The film's legacy remains complicated. Many wonder if the unfiltered version, the one with the lost duets and full emotional depth, might have redefined Elvis's cinematic trajectory. Could Ann-Margret have become his long-term creative partner, leading him toward richer, riskier roles? While we'll never know, what survives is the undeniable magic they captured. Their dances weren't scripted moments, but spontaneous eruptions of talent and trust, etched forever in film history. Fans continue to revisit Viva Las Vegas, not just for its vibrant numbers, but for those subtle, unscripted glances and the real-life electricity they betrayed. Beneath the sequins and smiles, a battle played out. Between love and loyalty, artistry and control, ego and admiration. Outside the spotlight, both stars built empires reflective of their personas. Elvis, ever the king, transformed Graceland into a kingdom filled with jets, luxury cars, and ornate jewelry. His estate, guided by Priscilla after his passing, would evolve into a billion-dollar legacy. Ann-Margret, with quieter resolve, amassed her own fortune, investing in real estate, collecting fine jewelry and classic cars, and protecting her brand with savvy insurance policies and business moves. Her financial acumen paralleled her on-screen discipline. Together, they serve as enduring symbols of fame, navigated with equal parts fire and foresight. As production moved from MGM studios to on-location shoots in the heat-soaked streets of Las Vegas in summer 1963, the electricity between Elvis and Ann-Margret intensified. Director George Sidney, already taken with the pair's natural dynamic, orchestrated sequences that allowed them to truly connect. Sidney carefully framed them in lingering medium shots, especially during the famed "Come On Everybody" and "The Lady Loves Me" numbers, capturing their energy bounce off each other. The choreography, meticulously designed by David Winters, who had trained under Ann-Margret, emphasized mirrored movements, one lead step, one follow, turning their rehearsals into a private dialogue of motion. As Winters later recalled, this choreography wasn't just about steps. It was about a living, breathing duet of passion and precision. Ann-Margret described their first test run in front of the piano. Once the music started, neither of us could stand still. We looked at each other move and saw virtual mirror images. When Elvis thrust his pelvis, mine slammed forward too. "It's uncanny," she wrote in her memoir. "That moment was electric. Not just flirtation, but two artists in dialogue, proclaiming themselves equals." The mood on set shifted. Elvis, normally guarded, laughed readily, relaxed into playful intimacy with Ann-Margret. She, fiery and confident, met his intensity without fear. Crew members recalled a new side to Elvis. Less the untouchable star and more the curious partner, drawn in by Ann-Margret's magnetic force. But as this connection took hold, unease spread beyond the soundstage. Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's manager and protector, bristled. Known for tight control over Elvis's image and career, Parker perceived Ann-Margret's rising spotlight as a threat. Reports grew of hostile confrontations between Parker and Sidney. He accused the director of undermining Elvis's star by allowing Ann-Margret to dominate both choreography and camera time. Parker was unrelenting. This was an Elvis movie, not a Broadway duet. The tension simmered, threatening to disrupt production. Adding to this pressure were the rumors that quickly took hold in Hollywood. Paparazzi and gossip columnists caught frequent glimpses of Elvis and Ann-Margret sneaking off together. On horseback rides through the desert, late-night motorcycle trips, whispered conversations in hotel suites. Time magazine, Newsday, and fan weeklies speculated about engagement rumors. Priscilla, then living in Memphis, was livid. According to her memoir, Elvis and Me, she picked up a flower vase and hurled it across the room, screaming that Ann-Margret should keep her ass in Sweden where she belongs. Elvis's world was fractured. Between star and girlfriend, manager and director, art and image, he stood at a crossroads. Meanwhile, Ann-Margret held her ground. She had famously demanded equal screen time in her contract, a bold move in a studio system that reserved leading roles for men. MGM relented, confident that her energy would attract audiences. And it did. Box office receipts surged. Variety ranked Viva Las Vegas the 14th highest-grossing film of 1964, earning a staggering $9.4 million on a budget of $1 million. Despite glitz and profit, Parker's fear of losing control grew. Under his direction, several major scenes were dropped, including full duets for You're the Boss and Today, Tomorrow, and Forever. These numbers had showcased Ann-Margret's depth as a singer and dancer, and their omission was strategic. Minimize her influence, preserve Elvis's centrality. When filming wrapped, the most powerful moment came in the split-screen finale. It allowed Sidney to show both performers side by side, separate yet equal, but safely apart. An artistic compromise shaped by power more than creativity. Privately, however, the bond between Elvis and Ann-Margret only deepened. In her memoir, My Story, she referred to him as her soulmate, and said they both understood industry pressures and each other like no one else could. She recalled quiet dinners with Elvis and his father back in Memphis, where he felt understood. "He trusted me," she said. Leather-bound letters and a guitar-shaped bouquet occasionally appeared backstage at Ann-Margret's later Vegas shows, unsigned but unmistakably from Elvis. Yet duty demanded choices. Elvis and Priscilla married in 1967. Ann-Margret began a long and loving marriage with actor Roger Smith. The romance with Elvis, real as it might have been, belonged to a single summer. Still, its echoes would linger. He invited her to Graceland and to his funeral, an honor extended to no other female co-star. When fans watched Viva Las Vegas today, they watch with new awareness. Those compelling glances, the pulsing sway of their dance, the brief missteps by Elvis, perhaps evidence of distraction, of passion, or proof that for a fleeting moment, two legends danced in perfect sync. Behind the scenes, career trajectories shifted. Parker, prizing discipline over artistry from that point on, cut budgets and production music numbers from Elvis's films. Ann-Margret, freed from studio strings, pursued challenging roles. She reinvented herself on stage and screen, earning Academy Award nods, Carnal Knowledge Tommy, surviving a near-fatal fall in 1972, and establishing herself as one of Hollywood's most enduring performers. Elvis, meanwhile, followed Parker's strict path: two-dimensional musicals, Vegas residencies, gospel albums. He rarely took risks after Vegas. One can't help but wonder what might have been. If the full musical composite had survived, with all its duets and emotional heft, would Viva Las Vegas stand in cinematic history as more than a cult classic? Could Elvis have toured beyond fame into deeper acting? Might he and Ann-Margret have become a lasting duo? A dynamic pairing capable of creating something deeper and more enduring? The answers remain in the archives of film, in memories of dance, and in half-heard stories whispered across Hollywood. But the impact of that summer of 1963 rippled far beyond the screen. Ann-Margret's insistence on equal billing broke glass ceilings for female performers. Corey fans today study their mirror dance, hip swivel after dive after turn, as if decoding an emotional language no film had ever told before. In fan forums, viewers still argue, did Elvis melt into her, or did she electrify him? The answer may be contained in that split screen or in the unfinished takes on dusty MGM reels, magnificent in raw honesty. 20 years later, the Library District in Las Vegas surfaced video and photos of the rehearsals and shoots, showcasing backstage energy between the two stars that reminded audiences of a time when performance could break rules and electrify eras. Today, Viva Las Vegas sits at a crossroads of eras. The height of Elvis's on-screen charisma, the dawn of Ann-Margret's storied career, and the moment when studio machinery confronted star magnetism. That tension shaped not only the final edit of the film, but the trajectories of their lives. For Elvis, Viva Las Vegas became both pinnacle and turning point. A peak of artistic spark quickly smothered by Parker's conservatism. For Ann-Margret, it was a breakthrough. A moment when she proved not only her artistic parity, but her power, her agency. And for cinema, it holds a rare moment when an arrangement of choreography, shared glances, and unscripted sparks captured something almost mythic. Two souls in sync against the backdrop of lightning and guitars and neon-lit nights. This story, of dance that wasn't dance, of passion that wasn't rumored, of power that wasn't scripted, continues to resonate. It whispers to us, chemistry isn't manufactured, it's found. And sometimes the most electric pairing is the one that almost broke the system. Viva Las Vegas endures because its magic wasn't just Elvis on a stage. It was two artists meeting as equals, matching heartbeats in a city built on desire. Even decades after the lights dimmed on Viva Las Vegas, the shadow of its fiery chemistry lingered, not just in film reels, but in memory. For Ann-Margret, the experience was more than just another role. It was an awakening. We were alike, she would later reflect. He had this rawness and vulnerability I recognized in myself. Fame hadn't hardened him. Not yet. Elvis, too, found in Ann-Margret a mirror of his own contradictions: fierce ambition and quiet tenderness, stage command and private longing. They weren't merely co-stars, they were co-conspirators in a moment that defied the script. Those who worked on the set still recall their off-camera moments as vividly as anything in the final cut. Crew members described shared laughter over milkshakes between takes, impromptu jam sessions in hotel suites, and silent, lingering stares when no one else seemed to be watching. One lighting technician remembered Elvis once asking for a reshoot, not because of a technical error, but because Ann-Margret had turned her head too soon, and he didn't want the audience to miss the way her hair moved in the light. He was mesmerized, the tech said. She had him. In many ways, Viva Las Vegas marked a brief period when both stars were allowed to be exactly who they were: young, passionate, and unconcerned, if only briefly, with the machinery of control that surrounded them. But it couldn't last. Elvis was under increasing pressure from Parker to stick to safer formulas: simple script, modest budgets, no strong co-leads. Ann-Margret, on the other hand, was courted by directors and producers eager to tap into the kinetic energy she displayed so effortlessly. The industry saw in her not just a sex symbol, but a force, a woman who could carry a film on her own merit. Still, neither forgot. Years later, when Ann-Margret took to the stage in Las Vegas for her own headlining show, enormous bouquets shaped like guitars would arrive backstage, unmarked. No note, no return address. But everyone knew. She never spoke of them publicly until long after Elvis's death. "He always remembered," she said, "even when we were apart." For Priscilla Presley, the story was different. Darker, more painful. In her memoir, she admitted the film and its aftermath left scars. While Elvis insisted the relationship with Ann-Margret was over, Priscilla always suspected there was something deeper, something unfinished. The jealousy, the emotional distance that followed, marked a turning point in their relationship. "After Viva Las Vegas, I realized I would always be part of his life. But maybe not the only part," she wrote. The film, stripped of its behind-the-scenes drama, still pulses with the energy of something real. The tension, the sparks, the musical numbers, they aren't just performance. They're memory caught on film, echoes of something neither scripted nor controlled. And maybe that's why Viva Las Vegas endures. Not because it was perfect, but because within its frames lies a brief moment of truth, too powerful to ever fully fade. In the end, Viva Las Vegas became more than a film. It was a flashpoint, a love story suspended in time. Elvis and Ann-Margret never had a traditional ending, but maybe that's why their story still echoes. It reminds us that sometimes the most powerful connections are the ones that never fully played out. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments. Was it passion, manipulation, or fate that kept them apart? Hit like and subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories that reveal the truth behind the lights.